Hello viewers, welcome to the Voice Show. My name is Videlis Njoki and this is my sign name. The Voice Show is always aired at 8 p.m. every Friday. We always have a repeat every Sunday at 8 p.m. So if you miss it on Friday, you can watch us again every Sunday. And you can also find us on YouTube at Science TV. Today I have my guest, very beautiful lady. Can you please introduce yourself and feel welcome? Please tell us more about who you are.
Thank you so much. My name is Belinda Rose Akinyi'S, and this is my sign name. I am from Thika Town.
Welcome, Belinda. Please tell us more, because I know most of the viewers are asking, why were you given this sign name? Please also share your history and how you have been using sign language.
Thank you so much for the question. So for me, the sign name Belinda, it's because I am deaf. I became deaf at a very young age, around, I think, 8 years old. So how I became deaf is I became sick, just a normal sickness where you get to feel cold or having malaria. And after I go to the hospital, for around 1 year, I was in and out of the hospital. And that's how later at that time I was studying in a hearing school. And one of the teachers started to notice that there's something which is not okay with me. I had a problem. And after the teacher was able to meet my parents and asked my parents to make sure they move me to a deaf school, or they can do more research to find a solution for my problem. I accepted and I was moved to a deaf school in Migori County. I was welcomed so well in Migori County, and I started to find my way. And after some examination, they realized I'm not fully deaf. I'm like 50-50, I'm half deaf. So I went to a deaf school, started learning. And I met some deaf girl who was there for me. And that's how I started school, after my parents had a lot of deliberations and they accepted me to join to school. So my experience, I had a bit of challenge. I'll only point out two things, where in the hearing world and in the deaf world, we get to see some differences. In the hearing world, we just get to sit down and the voices come to you. You don't need to do much. You don't use your hands. Then you're getting to a world where everyone is using their hands to communicate. So I'm here trying to use my eyes to understand what people are doing, what people are communicating, how people using their hands. Just hands and the eyes, it was a big difference for me. So at this point, it was me starting to see new things. I tried my best to learn sign language, but lucky for me, I was a very fast learner. I'm not slow.
So it means you are a clever child.
Yeah, I really was able to pick sign language very fast. And I remember maybe after a month, I would really understand sign language. I was so conversant with the language. From that time henceforth, I think I even forgot about hearing world, and the deaf world became much, much sweeter and much, much convenient for me. using my hands, using my eyes to communicate. Yeah, that was my world, and it was so good. From there, growing up, I went only to deaf schools, and my teachers would use sign language to communicate. I will capture everything so well. That has basically been my upbringing. And also, I remember people who found me hearing or thought I was hearing, now they're meeting me again and they're realizing I'm deaf. So people were shocked. They're saying that deaf people don't have a face similar to mine. That was actually a shocking revelation to have. But I'd really accepted myself. And I'll just say my experience in the deaf community has been very, very fantastic, very sweet. And what I want to say is that I don't even feel sorry for my father because he passed on some few years ago.
So was it before you became deaf?
Yes, he had passed on before I became deaf. So it was nearly during the time when he passed on, that's when the sicknesses, and around that time is when I became deaf. And that has been my life experience, basically growing up. My mom really accepted me, and she accepted everything that came with me. And that is, I would say being deaf was better for me. And my mom really wanted the best for me, and that was my biggest encouragement. So they didn't put me aside or look at me differently because I'm deaf, or put me at home when they realized I'm deaf. No, they were my biggest supporter. Yes, it was challenging. Sometimes there was financial challenges going to the hospital, but my mom really found a way to make sure that everything worked out. She gave me the full support. She always find a way to make sure things work. So that's how it has been. So truly my life, I wouldn't say it has been easy, but I really want to give all thanks and glory to God who was able to see us through, because it was really challenging. We had some challenging experiences from my parents really had some challenging experiences. I had siblings who at some point we were not understanding each other. We were just there. My mom was really trying to find a way to connect with me, but as much as I was growing, they were really understanding more about deaf people, learning a few things here and there. And now we can actually see them very conversant with sign language. They can really communicate, and I will teach them some basics. When we meet people, I'm able to teach them basic communication of using sign language.
Are they younger than you?
Yeah, my siblings, they're older than me. I have one who's in the uni. And some have completed school. I have a sibling in the University of Nairobi in third year. So after they go to school and they come back home, we get to actually connect with them. For my sister, I really like her so much. We stay together most of the time.
Wow, this is interesting. The way you have shared your experience from the time you became deaf person, and you have talked about school life from the time you moved from a deaf world to a hearing world, and how you transitioned from a hearing school to a deaf school, and the same as how you have been using sign language. So I want you to tell us, or you share your challenges that you have experienced after joining a deaf school and the support that you have received from your mother. You said that your dad rested, which is okay, and my condolences. So what about your relatives? Can you please share how has been your experience up to now when you are over 18? How do you feel? Can you share about the challenges as a deaf person that you have experienced with the hearing world? Because, you know, we have our own life as deaf people, but we don't live independently. We have to interact with the hearing people, and we have to interact more with them. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I'll truly say challenges were there from time to time. Number one was access to information. In the deaf community, we get information quite late as compared to the hearing world. In the hearing world, once something is said, it's out there, the information gets to transfer to every other person very fast. But in the deaf people, you find that it might even take a week for everyone to get a certain information. And sometimes hearing people can really access information very fast through media, but now for us, sometimes we need interpreters or interpretation of the same content for us to get it. But it's not like we do have very many interpreters out there. Some can help with interpretation, some can provide services, some can't, some will ask you to wait. You have to call quite a number of people for them to come and provide services or information. So that is a very big difference which I really want to point out. And also there's also advocacy for young people to live on their own. Sometimes we get to see younger deaf people having mentors. They get even mentorship at a very late age. But for other communities, you find that people get mentors at a very young age. In primary, in high school, they know about living your own life, being independent. But then again, when you get to college, that's when you start getting mentorship.
Which specific mentorship?
The mentorship I'm talking about is like the lifestyle mentorship, SRHR, reproductive health and rights, that kind of topics. This is something I'd really say for the deaf community, we start getting it at a very late age. Maybe sometime people start getting these lessons at high school level, and at this point life is already transitioning, and then they're learning about SRHR, which is a bit different, about gender and understanding these topics. So I think access to mentorship has also been a big challenge for the community.
I concur with you, especially where you mentioned about accessibility. To be very honest, this is a huge challenge, and it's a huge barrier that we, the deaf community, do face, especially the girls. They really don't get this access to information. Also, on mentorship, you find that they don't have someone they can emulate, they can copy, or where they can get this information. So some of the challenges that we do face as people with disability, especially the deaf community, because when we talk about communication, we do not get that communication. That is a barrier. But before that, I think we had a discussion that was very amazing. Maybe we can take a short break and then come back and continue with our conversation with our friend Belinda. Welcome back, viewers. Let's continue with our conversation with our friend Belinda, who has shared a story of growing up. And before we went for our break, she talked about accessibility and mentorship. Can you tell us more about who is your role model?
My role model, I'll say Rahab. Rahab is my role model. She's a good role model to me. And the reason why I'm choosing her is because she's really changed my life in a big way. I remember when I started, or when I joined college. This was about in 2022, around September. When I started, that's when our journey of mentorship started. Then you're joining this community and organization. Then that's where I met Rahab, and she really helped me a lot. She taught me about health, reproductive health and rights, gender-based violence. All these topics were the different things I was learning from her, and this is how I was able to learn a lot about mentorship. And for me, that's how she became my role model, and I'd like to be a role model to other people.
That's interesting.
And I'll say I'm a role model to other people, especially, and I'm a youth champion too, because I also work with the Federation for Women, where I make sure we help other young people, other young deaf people, to get maybe who cannot access, who cannot advocate for their own rights. I do that, and I make sure they are informed on how they can actually advocate for that, telling them that their voice can be heard and how they should use their voice, because most of the time they have a problem of expressing themselves, which is a big challenge. So now once we teach them from a very young age, as they grow to adulthood, they are ready to actually have their voices out there, and teaching them how to integrate in the community. And also, I remember we go to their school around in different times, where we get to meet deaf and hearing children, and through lessons of SRHR, we get to provide mentorship. And also for me as Belinda, I've been called several times because and people ask if I have something to share with them. And from everything that I've learned in the organization, working with these young people, interacting with the young girls and the young boys, once I meet people from different levels or different settings, I can actually provide or teach them something. Yeah, so through working with federal organization and different settings, I'll say my life has changed, and I'll never forget that.
Rahab.
And I'll never forget Rahab.
Rahab, congratulations. I'm going to appreciate you for that positive feedback that we've gotten from Belinda. But before that, I want you to talk as a youth. You have shared a lot of information, and specifically on sexual and reproductive health rights. On that area, I want to ask you, especially when you mentioned about peer education and peer support, that you have to share your story. Can you tell us, do you feel confident? Because you have seen in most schools, youth or in high school, where we find where the young boys and girls are taken advantage by their own parents and also teachers. For example, we have seen so many cases when a deaf girl has started menstruation, and probably they have not met you earlier. Have you ever found a case where you see the parents, all the teachers, yes, they know the sign language, but the parents do not know sign language and they don't know how to communicate with the deaf students. So when these situations happen, how do you assist? Or can you tell us about the gaps that are there, how they can be solved?
Well, for me, one thing I always advise people is, in whatever situation, please be confident. Be confident. Whether you think people will not accept you or accept whatever you're telling them, just keep going. You have to push for yourself. And you have to make sure you keep on pushing and pushing. because self-confidence is very, very important.
You see, yes, you have talked about confidence, but at times you're told to shut up, to keep quiet.
They will say shut up, and they'll just, it gets to a point they will keep quiet because they will see you coming. For example, I'll share my experience. I remember when I was in high school, I really saw a problem with my fellow students. And one thing I will say is that most of them were really, really afraid, and they had so much fear. They were afraid of the teacher. They had a lot of things to say, but they were really, really afraid. It was a big challenge. So I remember one of my friends who was also a close neighbor of mine, and I offered to help them to make sure we get to find a way to help maybe report cases or to make sure these cases are reaching to the parents or the teachers. And I remember the parents, when they came, they didn't know sign language. They were not able to communicate using sign language. And the teachers were able to communicate using sign language.
Meaning the teachers were taking advantage of me?
What I'm saying is, sometimes yes, sometimes no. If a teacher is taking advantage of you, we can actually go to hospitals where we can report. In hospitals, they can connect with the police or the people in authority who can actually offer assistance. Maybe when you go to the settings, people get to write for each other. And one thing I know for sure, hospitals don't refuse to offer services. But if you feel like the teacher is taking advantage or there is difficulty in communications, I really advise people to go to an hospital setting. If they get information, or the hospital setting, once they get the information, they can actually offer assistance quite fast. And that's something which I really, as I'll say, I've seen. And I've seen people getting help from that setting. But you have people who are not aware of organizations which they can approach or how they can access these hospitals, because we have so many hospitals. You go, you meet nurses who are quite harsh, are not really patient to get the information, and they might even refuse to provide services. So that is like one of those experiences which I'll say I've seen out here.
She has talked about the options that you have when you get stuck. And in case you face any challenges, any gender-based violence, issues to do with menstrual hygiene or menstrual cases, you know how to act. Now, as a youth and a champion, what are your future plans? Or, for example, you see in the next 10 years or 10 years later, where do you want to see yourself?
Wow, that is a big dream. I really hope we can fulfill them. But for me, I'll say this dream that I have is to make sure in the next years we get in my youth championship journey. One thing for sure is for me to be a role model who's actually liked and providing mentorship. In the next 10 years, I hope to own my own organization where I'm helping other young people from a larger perspective, mostly deaf people, persons with disability, because we get to experience challenges as persons with disabilities. If a deaf person is experiencing a challenge, it's not the deaf person alone. They have other people who have similar challenges in different ways. So for me, I hope to own my own organization that is actually making an impact and helping so many people, changing their life. Not just me alone. I have an organization which helped me, so I really want to do the same for other people. If my life has been able to change, so my thought is, how do I give back to other people? And am I planning to leave people behind? No, that's not something I'll really want to do. So I'll really want to push and make sure that we all are advancing to be at an equal level. And that is very, very important for me. Whether with funding or no funding, I'm really hoping to advocate for young people to improve their lives to be at an advanced level. Not me, the things that I got to experience in my past. I have other people who are younger getting to experience the same things, having their voices silenced. No, that's not what I really plan to do. I really am planning to impact and change lives. So my vision for the future is as clear as I have explained it.
May God keep me for long so that I can witness that.
Thank you.
To see your vision. And I'm happy to see how you predict your future. And I believe that we have so many people who are watching you and who want to be like you. So you talked about your future and the visions that you have. Please, can you give us the final, or what is the call to action that you would request the government to do, or what actions do you want the government to do? And also, can you advise the viewers if it's probably a person with disability who don't feel worthy? So what advice can you give them?
First thing, my advice will be to the parents: please accept your children who have disabilities, because these are your children. If your child has any type of a disability, please accept this child. That will be my first advice. And also, please love them. Accept them and love them. If you get to accept these children and you get to love them, they'll feel the appreciation and they'll be able to work hard for their own future. But if your own parents are not accepting a child with a disability, then this child is going to feel very bad. This child is going to be demoralized. This child is not going to be ready to face the world. They will start at a very low level. So if their self-esteem is very, very low, that means that this child won't be able to want to achieve or do much for themselves. So something very important which the parents have to remember is accepting and loving their children, with or without, or with any type of a disability that they have. Please love and accept them and be ready to support them. Now, my other advice is to everyone else out there. I know we have so many people out here, maybe who are hearing, and they are really not ready to interact or be connected with persons with disabilities. So in African setting, I'd say we see this as a big challenge, but please, there is acceptance. If you accept people with disability, then, or you change your mentality, then it gets to change a lot of things. We are not so different. We just have a difference of a certain disability. In everything that, in our minds, we can do everything, we can read, we can do anything in a similar way to other people. So that is my advice to the people out there. And to the government, they have been trying to do more and more, but the advice which I want to give them is please continue pushing and advocating for the rights of persons with disabilities, to get jobs, to get education, to get what other people are getting easily. Because we have persons with disability. Persons with disability can do everything any other person can do. The only thing is slight differences here and there, which is, if you eradicate the barriers, then everything is going to be okay. Without the barriers, then our lives are going to be as fulfilling as every other person. And I'd like to encourage other people, if you're given opportunities, we're going to be at the same level. If you get jobs, if you get education, we can develop our communities, and also we can improve our lives. That way, the lives of persons with disabilities are really, really improved. That's my advice to the government and to other maybe organizations or groups which are working for or working with persons with disabilities. I really want to encourage you to continue doing your job. correctly as you're doing it, provide mentorship, support persons with disabilities from different levels and different organizations, create partnerships with people, and let's now interact on how we are going to, if we notice gaps from different level, if it's deaf people, if it's any other disability, any gaps that you're noticing, I'd like us to bridge them and work together. Everyone at large, please remember, persons with disabilities are similar to every one of us. We have fulfilling lives, and I'll really want to say that we really are ready to work together with every other person. Don't see. And I really want to encourage my other friends with disability. Remember, your life will become better and good when you continue advocating for yourself. Don't sit at home and expect that things are going to be handed to you. Nothing comes easy. You have to work hard and work for whatever you want. After you've worked hard, everything will come easy. If you put in the effort, things come easy. And then you get to have a very comfortable life. So people will be actually shocked to see how you're really achieving enough and achieving a lot for yourself, and they'll really want to emulate you, and that will actually be good for the other people who are coming behind you to want to emulate you. So I'll encourage everyone to be good to one another, and if you're good to one another, respecting each other, then that is going to be a very important attribute for us to learn. And I really hope that other people, once we do that, other people will also come and respect you back. And remember, respect is very, very important. If you care for other people, caring for other people, that is also very, very important. So I think that has been a very well elaborated one. So I don't want to start another mentorship session with our viewers, but yeah, those are some of the pointers I really had to bring today. So anywhere you go, how you're carrying yourself, how you're taking your life, you should always focus on where you are at. If you're in school, make sure you are really thinking about your education and how your future is going to be, or where you want to achieve, what you want to achieve in the future. Don't just take a back seat and wait for things to work out. Just make sure you are at the front line of your life, working so hard, knowing whatever you want to achieve, and that's how you're going to achieve your goals.
I feel like I don't want to add anything. But one thing I have learned, and I believe you viewers have also learned, especially for persons with disability, you don't need just to sit and wait for opportunities to come to you. You must at least try to fold your sleeves and work hard and try to think about what are you doing right, what are you doing wrong, so that you can change. And also, we need to embrace persons with disabilities, especially to you parents with children with disability. For the world to embrace them, you need to start embracing them first. Because if you don't embrace them, then it will be difficult for the world to accept them. Try to eradicate the barriers. Do not be giving excuses. For us to get equal opportunities, just like any other people, when it comes to education, health, and everywhere, all the sectors, and also in the community, we believe that we need to have equality. So we need to act and get equality. We need to check whether we have good accessibility. So see you in the next show. Bye-bye.